Welcome back to RealHouseDIY. Today I'm going to show you what causes squeaky floors and how to fix them. Chances are you probably have squeaky floors in your house. Maybe not if it's a brand new house. But even just after a few years and some settling, you can develop some squeaky floors. These are actually really easy to fix. You can fix them from below or from above. So here's what your floor might look like. You have your floor joists, your subfloor, and your finished flooring. Might be hardwood or carpet. First of all, the most unlikely problem, but it could be your problem if you have hardwood floors. If they happen to be slightly buckled like that, then that can cause your squeak. If that's the case and you have access from below, you want to put some weight or have someone stand on that flex from above, push it down tight, and you'll take a screw that's not long enough to go through the finished flooring at the top and drive that screw, and drive it here and here if you want, down the length of that flex. And that will hold that tight again, stop that from squeaking. If you don't have access from below and only from the top, unfortunately your only solution will be to secure it from the top. You'll want to use a screw that will hold it down tight. A nail, it will just loosen again and you'll get that same flex and squeak as you had previously. And certainly use a finished screw so you'll have minimum filler to cover that up. The most likely problem you'll have is if you have a joist that has a gap between the joist and the subfloor, and whether you're using a nail that's loose when you step on it, it causes that to rub between the wood and the metal. That'll give you your squeak. And even for if you're not using fully threaded screws, have the smooth shank on the screw, that can also cause the squeak there. That gap is most likely caused by a joist that's sitting lower than the two joists on either side. Or if your house is built such that you have a support beam like down the center of the house and you have joists coming in from either side. If those joists are not perfectly level, maybe due to settling, you can end up like this or like this. And the subfloor might be secure on both sides, but you add a slight change there, then you end up having a gap in the floor just like that. So the easiest solution to fixing a squeak caused by a gap between the subfloor and the joist, go down to the basement, find that gap, you put shims just like that. You'll most likely need more than one shim. As soon as that gap is gone, subfloor won't be able to move on top of the joist anymore. In the cases where you have two pieces of your subfloor coming together and you have that gap between the subfloor and the joist, I still prefer to use the shims. You'll just need to get shims either center or either side. The other option is you take a cleat, just any piece of wood. This is just a 2x4. They'll be positioned slightly above the height of the joist to remove the gap, and you screw that in against the joist. I do still prefer using multiple shims instead of a cleat, however. It's a lot easier to reposition shims as you need to. You might need to reposition them 10 times before you completely remove the squeak. If you're screwing in a cleat against the joist, first time it might not remove the squeak, and then you'll be taking the screws out, repositioning, and that might not be worth it. It's a lot easier to use multiple shims. When you're using the shims, definitely don't hammer them in. Only put them in as tight as they need to go, just by pushing it by hand. If you hammer this in, you're gonna end up lifting it, and that might be fine for removing the squeak, but then you're gonna get a little bump in the floor. For the case where you don't have access from below, you wanna use a trim head screw. Don't use a trim head nail like this. This will end up loosening and still causing squeaks. They do make special tools where you drive the screw down, it will snap off. You don't really need that. Just use a trim head screw. And even if this were carpet, just screw right through the carpet. Make sure you're hitting a joist. You can use a stud finder to help find where the joists are. And your base, if this were your carpet, just gonna drive that screw all the way down below the level of carpet through the carpet pad. And then you won't need to snap anything off. It will be sitting below the carpet pad. Just make sure, step on it, you're not gonna feel that sticking out. For your hardwood floors, you definitely want to pre-drill so you can easily drive a nail or a screw through the hardwood. Depending on when your house was built, you may or may not have used something like this subfloor adhesive that you put down all of the joists before putting your subfloor down and then screwing down your subfloor. And for that case, if there were any gaps, it would do a pretty good job filling those in and helping prevent squeaks. Although even after using subfloor adhesive, if you have some settling, some movement in the joists, it can still create a gap there and cause some squeaks in your floor, using subfloor adhesive or not. Here's the floor squeaker we're gonna fix right now. Basically what I do, I find a reference point. In this case, we have the baseboard heater, so you have a pipe going down into the basement right there. And you can measure, it's going to be about 1.5 feet. It's only about 6 inches in length there. And it's about 1 foot. So if I were to guess, I would say we have a joist going across here, one right here that's lower, and then a third one that's at the same elevation as the first one. So we have that lower one that's causing the squeak. So here we are in the basement. Right there is where that pipe comes down. You can follow that about 1 foot this way. You can see we have a double joist here, and another one this way. I'm guessing this one is the one that's going to be lower than the others. We'll see if there's a gap there. And yeah, we can see there's a gap. Runs a couple feet. So I'm just going to take my shims. Just push in as far as you can push it by hand. You can always easily reposition them. There's a pretty nice gap there. That one can go in a lot further. So right about here we have the next piece of subfloor, and that's pretty tight right there. I'm gonna put that one there as the first one that I can get in. Reposition this one here over just a little bit. So I've got 3 shims now, each about 6 inches apart. See if that fixes the issue. I might need a 4th or 5th one down here. Although getting any further down here, that's where the pipe is coming in on the other side. And there's no squeak that far over, so this might do it here. And just to see the other joist here, that's nice and tight. There's no gap on that side. And get that double joist here. Again, there's no gap there. So I checked the floor up above one more time. We still had a little bit of a squeak, so I repositioned these and add one more shim, push them all in a slight bit more, and then the squeak went away. So we'll go upstairs, take a look. We have those shims in position between the subfloor and the joist, and you can see we no longer have a squeak here. And that's it. Very easy to fix squeaks in your floors, especially if you have access below from the basement. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.